I'm gonna do an update.
Good evening, hello, good morning, and good afternoon, depending where you are. Welcome to Connect Africa. So we are happy to be here, even if it's a bit late for us. Yeah, these days we are kind of not consistent in terms of times, but hopefully, you will be with us. So for today, we are going to look at the upcoming election of the African Union. That will be, of course, in January, end of January and beginning of February, usually during the ordinary session of the African heads of states in 2025 in Addis Ababa. So candidates are warming up for that. We have here reported at Connect Africa, when the African Union announced it's going to close for the deadline, when it announced the deadline, and for countries to submit their candidates. Anyway, I think I'm got carried away. So we have Kwame Gonza for this, to talk about it. It will be kind of two-way, but no, definitely Kwame will have more to say. So welcome, Kwame.
Thank you, Mahlet. Thank you very much, and thank you to our viewers as always for being part of Connect Africa. This is very important, extremely important. Thank you for supporting the channel and the fact that it is growing. It is very important as an alternative African, platform, media platform. This is extremely important for us to put out the African narrative, and also, of
Mhm.
course, to inform our people who are in the diaspora about what is going on across the African continent. And as you are seeing, we are covering the continent in a 360 manner, 360 degrees manner, that whatever is happening across the continent, we try to inform you about it, whether it's happening in Algeria, Morocco, and all these places, what is happening there. Niger, Mali, and all these places, East African region. So we have been to South Africa. We have covered the events over there. So we are here to do just that. And of course, with the diaspora, we are also, interested in the African diaspora and what is happening in the diaspora. And we have done a broadcast, on Venezuela also. So this is very important for us to also look at what is happening in the African diaspora. So this is, helpful, I believe, to the African diaspora, but it is also helpful to the continent itself, in the people who are on the continent, Africans on the continent themselves, that they will know themselves, because one of the problems that we have been facing across the continent is that Africans really don't know their continent, that they don't know they don't know what is happening. You find that somebody is in South Africa, but it doesn't know what is
Mhm.
really happening in Kenya. So the platform Connect Africa is just here for that. That is the purpose why we are here. To fill that gap. There's a vacuum currently, that the things which the current mainstream African media platforms are focusing on, they are really not African. They are not in the interest of African, and they are engaged in the practice of course, copy and paste. So that is the gap. That is the very gap that Connect Africa is filling, and your support goes a long way to energize us and encourage us also to move forward and help. So, with that being said, subscribe to the channel if you are out there and you are new, and like the video, and also share it with other people. Back to you, Marit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kwame. All right, then. So for today, we're not going to look at all the candidates, but we just chose uh, Raila Odinga of Kenya. This time, maybe I'm going to link that video that I made here in the chat section. The African Union has its way of giving a quota. It's not just from every country. There's a quota. So this time it will be for Eastern African countries. So they have one time the North from North Africa, from West, from East. That's how it goes. So this time it's for East Africa. And so most of the candidates are, I think all the candidates, we can say East Africa. So last time we had uh, what is announced by the African Union is that there was Raila Odinga from Kenya, the foreign ministers from Somalia and Djibouti also have submitted, and now we are hearing new additions are there, and some of them have left actually. That has its own pros and cons for Raila Odinga, but Raila Odinga so far has got its support or endorsement from Uganda, I believe also from Ethiopia, and Somalia has pulled out. Djibouti is there. So, who are the new entrants into this candidature? These are the things we are going to look at. And of course, first and foremost, a candidate has to be endorsed by the government of that country that he or she is coming from. So, William Ruto has endorsed Raila Odinga. Well, before we go to this how he's building up, who endorsed him, and comparing with other candidates, it's good to know a bit of about Raila Odinga, who is he briefly, and then we move to the substance of it. Kwame, back to you, please.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mahlet. Raila Odinga, of course, you can look at him as a traditional, um, African politician or Kenyan politician, in a sense that you can say that is part of the established political system within the country. All right, he's part of the people who have built the existing political system in the country. In that his father, by that I mean that his father was a politician. All right, just like how previous president Ruto, I mean not Ruto, Uhuru Kenyatta was. Uhuru Kenyatta's father was a politician, and he's one of those who led Kenya, of course, to independence. But of course, he's looked at as the father of Kenyan independence. Now, Raila Odinga is the same thing. He was also a son. He is a son of one of the people who was, his father, of course, also was called Odinga. He was also a politician in Kenya. So you can see that politics, he sort of inherited it from his father. Now, whether this is good or bad is, is another issue, because sometimes these people, they build their interests entrenched in the country, and of course, in certain cases, they gain a level of indifference, of course, and entitlement. Sometimes they do feel entitlement when you look at what is happening across the African continent, and when you come to, of course, other countries like Ghana and stuff like that. That these elements sometimes they become very entitled and indifferent even to the suffering of the people, of course, which is unfortunate because to a certain extent, they become accustomed to luxury. All right, they feel that they are entitled to the pass, to the nation's pass or the nation's budget in some way, and they should be there. They feel entitled that they should be there. So, but he has been part of Kenya's politics, and he has built up the opposition for a long time. He has been a member of parliament within the country. He has been a prime minister, actually, during the government of, Kibaki, President Kibaki, who was the late president. He died. And his prime ministership, premiership, resulted from a contest, of course, which even led uh, to almost bloodshed in the country, or death of people. So it is after that, pressure and friction which happened between, President Kibaki and and Odinga, that Odinga was able to be offered through negotiations, was offered a position in Kenya in Kibaki's government as a prime minister. So, and then later on, he would serve also at the African Union as a commissioner for infrastructure. He served as the African Union, High Representative for Infrastructure Development between 2018 and 2023. So you can say basically that he has some experience when it comes to the African Union and its activities, but also you can say briefly that he's a very experienced politician in that sense. Yeah, so he's been supported, of course, by the Kenyan government, and it is, I think, President Obasanjo who fronted this decision to him. He decided, this suggestion, who brought this suggestion to Raila Odinga for him to compete, for the African Union Commission chairpersonship. Just to let the people know, there's a difference between the African Union Commission and the African Union. The African Union is the overall body which represents the African Union, and the African Union Commission is the administrative body of the African Union itself. So we normally have two people who are leading those two organizations. Normally, the African Union is headed by a head of state, one of the heads of state of the African continent. That is what it is, that it normally rotates. The chairpersonship of the African Union normally rotates across the continent. Also, just in the same manner which Mahlet mentioned, that the African Union Commission, which normally comes from the general public of the African continent, which is not the heads of state. So that chairperson is what the chairpersonship of the African Union Commission, that is what Raila Odinga is competing for. So that too moves across the continent. Right now, the chairperson of the African Union is coming from North Africa, Mauritania, President Gozani, and the East African region now is going to take the African Union Commission chairpersonship. So briefly, that is Raila Odinga.
How old is he? You said 80? Or you did not?
He's 79. He's 79. I didn't say his age, but he's 79.
Mm,
President Raila Odinga is 79.
okay. All right.
Almost coming to
Now,
80.
huh?
He's almost coming to 80 years.
All right. Wow. That's like what's his name? Joe Biden is also the same age, isn't he? Or is it above?
Joe Biden, I don't think Joe Biden is, I think Joe Biden is 80
Anyway.
something or 86, right?
Oh, 86. I was
Yeah.
gonna compare, their fitness. If it's, I didn't expect 80
Joe
from
Biden is
Raila.
81, actually. He's 81. Joe Biden
Yeah,
is 81.
they say white people get more faster, older. than like,
Yeah, so actually people were comparing Joe Biden to Obasanjo. Obasanjo is 86, but you can see that he's carrying his bag and moving
he's
in the airport
moving. Huh?
alone,
Yeah, he's very
alone,
sharp.
and he's moving really quickly. He's traveling quickly. And Obasanjo, of course, was a military person, so you can see the reason that he's active because he was in the military, and so there's a lot of exercise there. I think you
Mm.
can hope that that is the reason why he's very active. But anyway, let's go back to Odinga.
Yeah, and so what do you think of now Raila Odinga's, in terms of whether he's fit to the position? Is he the right one, first of all? And why? Should it have been another person? Yeah, and also why?
Um, yeah, so I think that it's possible that, of course, he has got a lot of support, and in the region, and of course, even in the West African region. You remember President Ruto visited Ghana. I think he visited Senegal too. I don't remember whether it was Senegal, but he visited one of those West African countries. So he has gotten a lot of support, and he's an elder person. He's an elder statesman. He's looked at as an elder statesman on the African continent. So it is possible also that he would get the support of Nigeria. The East African region, that one he has finished. We saw President Ruto coming to Uganda and having a conversation with Museveni. Actually, they came, both of them, President Ruto and Odinga. They came to Uganda and met Museveni on his farm at his home village in the western part of the country. And we have seen President Ruto going around, canvassing support for him. We have seen also Mauritania. We've seen Mauritius. And of course, you spoke about Somalia, who pulled out their candidates, right? I think this shows you that these, countries feel that is the right candidate to take that position. And there may be some sort of sympathy for people like President Obasanjo to support him. I think that there may be some level of sympathy for him. The fact that he's struggled under different presidents, to be able to become a president of Kenya. He has been around for a long time, fighting to become Kenya's president, and he's failed, and it looks like he's not gonna get it. So there may have been some sympathy on the side of President Obasanjo, as an elder statesman and stuff like that, that they have allowed him. So now on the side of qualifications, I think that he may do better. I hope, but I also think that he may do better than Musa Faki, the current chairperson of the African Union Commission, who is there. I think that he may do better than Musa Faki due to the fact that he has some really strong Pan-African sentiments. And of course, he even calls himself a Pan-Africanist, of course, which is debatable. Debatable due to the fact that, he has these, and Kenya itself as a country, I really doubt whether a Pan-African president can come from East African region. I have my own reservation, you know, for the East African region due to the way they have embraced neoliberalism. All right, and that means neoliberalism. I mean, the white people way of living, that they have embraced so much this way of living of the white people that,
But
uh,
who didn't in the continent anyway?
of course, everyone has, but I see it is very very
In
difficult to
fact,
have
there
really
is one country in East Africa and in the entire continent who did not embrace neoliberalism or, yeah, whatever. That's
which is
Eritrea.
Eritrea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
so
go
yeah,
ahead.
so yeah, since he comes from that background, and you always hear him talking about, you always hear, Odinga talking about democracy and this rule of law, institutions and stuff like that. We have to maintain democracy. So it's very difficult to see that maybe there will be some radical changes. He may perform better than Musa Faki, right? Well and good. But to expect that maybe he may bring some radical changes, that could be difficult. But on the other hand, the way it is, the fact that he may want to achieve things in the existing system, system, the way it is, the neoliberal system, whatever it is, he may get some level of respect from other heads of state. Like if he goes, for example, to Museveni and says that, oh, we should do this. Due to his age, he may get some level of respect. All right, and like things may move faster compared
So, by
to maybe.
saying this, are you ruling out that perhaps it's better for this position to have an elder person than a useful person?
Yeah, so I think that so I'm not ruling out the fact that we should have a younger person. Of course, I would like to see a younger person with a lot of energy also. But as you see, the continent, looking at the system we are in right now, it's difficult for these heads of state, most of them who are old, that you will have a younger person and they give him, like total respect. All right. And they expect like a younger person to always come and kneel before them and submit. All right. But if you look at Odinga, the way he is, he's almost 8 years. Whenever he comes to them, they may look at him and say, okay, this is almost age mate. It's my age mate. So it looks like what he's talking about, he knows it and stuff like that. So you see that he may get to do certain things, accomplish certain things if he's really willing, if he has a strong burning desire to make a contribution, at the African Union. He may be able to accomplish, if you look at it from that perspective, he may be able to accomplish something. But this does not mean that the young person that does not or cannot accomplish these things. If you look at, for example, the Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, he has accomplished a lot of things, across the African continent, and yet he's a younger person. If you look at him, he's much younger compared to other people who are leading, different organizations of the continent, or even organs of the African Union. But he has been able to accomplish a lot. So this does not mean that if you get a charismatic and very aggressive young leader on the African continent, that they will not, accomplish uh, anything, or they will not accomplish a lot, or they will not be listened to by the existing older heads of state.
Now, can you thank you, Kwame, but can you walk us through who are the other candidates now, who are applying for this position, which country, and if there's a little bit background about them, and why do you think, of course, if you think like that, Raila Odinga will stand out uh,
Yeah,
amongst
so
these?
the other candidates are not very known. I think only one candidate I'm seeing here who uh, they are showing as if he may bring some level of challenge. But even until recently, I also did not know him, Muhammad Ali Yusuf, who is from Djibouti. All right, and is the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Djibouti. I didn't know him very well. So he has not done a lot of things. Even in the East African region itself, it may be difficult for him to get, any votes, because he's not one of those people who have been around for. Maybe he may have been around in Djibouti for some time, but like he's not very widely known in the region by other heads of state. So it may be difficult for him to secure, these votes, during February, when those votes are coming on, February 2025. And unlike Odinga, that he's been around making a lot of noise in Kenya, so he may be able to secure these votes, because even in the West African region, he's known. In the South, his region, he is known. He has been a peace envoy, actually, when there was chaos in Ivory Coast. He had been elected as a peace envoy, appointed as a peace envoy in Ivory Coast when there was this issue where Ouattara wanted to come to power, and they had, issues over there. So they had sent him there before France and the United States and the United Nations came in to take the sitting president, who was refusing to come out of power by force with the military. So there's not really much. If you look at what is happening, there's really no much opposition on his side, because countries which had put up candidates like Seychelles, Somalia, and Mauritius, all of them, they pulled out their candidates. And of course Madagascar also. So Madagascar also pulled out its candidate. So you can see that it looks like all these countries have endorsed, Odinga. So I don't know whether, the candidate, uh, Muhammad Ali Yusuf from Djibouti, whether he has gone on to canvass some, votes within the region and across the continent, because of course, as you said, the government which you stand for, your government has to support you when you take a candidate. Candidacy, your government has to support you, and of course, if Djibouti has come behind to support him, uh, that we don't know yet, whether the government has come to support him and then of course go out there for him, because normally they provide also resources, like Ruto said that they should provide all resources for Odinga to go out there and compete for this, position, and they provided the resources, for his own reasons. Of course, Ruto has his own reasons for saying that Odinga should go out there due to the country and its issues. Yeah, so that is what happens. Actually, talking about the support of your country of origin, there's two other things which I wanted to mention. Uh, we had put up a candidate as the ACAP, okay, as ACAP, as the Africa Continental Unity Party. We had actually wanted to put up a younger candidate in Ghana, But of course, we made some, challenges, along the way. But we wanted to contest for the African Union Chairperson Commission, and then we wanted to contest also for the deputy. All right, I think this was in March. We wanted to go to the Ghanaian government to present candidates so that the government of Ghana can support us. But we met challenges, of course, with the government. The government was not supportive during that period, of course, which was very, bad for us. It was very bad for us. So, but the other thing, which in line with that, we wanted to present, of course, younger candidates, very, very young candidates. That one was just to buttress that point of, our age and the difference in age and why we need a young person. So the other thing which I wanted to speak about on that issue is for the African diaspora to understand that we have the African diaspora region as the sixth region of the African Union. We have five regions on the African continent: the West, the East, the South, the North, and then the Central. All right, and we have the Central. Those are five. Now we have the sixth region, which is not on the African continent, which is the African diaspora, all people of African descent, including, all the people of black descent, whether they are, whether they are African Americans, Caribbean, and all people, they are part of that. So I would encourage the African, descent and African diaspora to pay attention to what is going on. All right, they should pay close attention to what is going on, but also, to find out where they can congregate and bring their issues, and also to compete. I would like to see that the African diaspora also put up candidates when it comes to the chairpersonship, of the African Union Commission. All right, because they are part of the African Union and they are part of the African continent. So I would like to see something like that in the future.
Let me ask you, why do you think? I mean, we have seen that what a deadly uh, protest has come out right after Ruto's election, and Raila Odinga is an opposition leader. Uh, what made Ruto to endorse Raila Odinga, and in fact also to go around neighboring countries and lobby for him?
No, I think, Raila Odinga was starting, of course, the old man was starting to disturb Ruto within the country itself. So I think that he had a thought that if I endorse him, and if I endorse him, he will be out of the country and not give me problems, because he was organizing protests in the country. And of course, this paid off. It really paid off, because before the young people organized these protests that we are seeing that are ongoing in Kenya, Odinga was on the side. And also, Odinga has come out actually to condemn the fact that people are saying that the president should go. You see, so he has come out in that way and said that the president should go, so that they should leave the country to who? That they cannot leave their country to faceless people. So that's what I was saying, that he is part of the dynasty, the political dynasty in Kenya, which is established, that they have interest in keeping the existing system because they have been benefiting from it. They have been eating from it. Because remember, I told you that he was a member of parliament, and at the same time, he has been a prime minister before, right? And he has been fighting all his life and sacrificing all these people to become a president, all right? So you can see that Ruto's tactic actually paid off. If you look at, Raila Odinga's, if you look at Raila Odinga's response to what is going on in Kenya with the protests, so it shows you that Ruto's tactics, they worked, because he's supporting Ruto, and claiming that they cannot just leave the country to what he called faceless people. And these are, of course, the protesters are the ones he's calling, like that.
We also have seen now this pictures the one I shared is when Ruto Odinga visited Yoweri Museveni, the elder in town, the elder in the whole continent. And this yeah, it was really an interesting one. So he has endorsed him, and he went also to your Museveni, whatever they have talked. But one of the discussion was, of course, the candidacy of Raila Odinga to the African Union Commission chairperson. What about Obasanjo? Obasanjo seems also, he is also the elder of the continent. All election goes through under his observation. And yeah, what do you think? Why do you think he endorsed him? And yeah, and is there such a thing? Does it even matter? Obasanjo's endorsement. It might not be official, but yeah, muted.
Sorry. So I think that President Obasanjo just wanted to reward his friend, and he sees that he has struggled very much. And these young people have outsmarted him. Uh, these younger people, not the young people, but the younger people like Uhuru Kenyatta and then Ruto, he thinks that they have outsmarted him and they have, defeated him from being a president because he has gone to 8 years. He has lost a lot of energy. So you may look at it like he was just aiding him to get his retirement package, at the African Union. Because at the African Union, of course, you're gonna get access to this huge budget, and you're gonna get access to a private jet, which takes him anywhere he wants across the continent, for a full, for full term, if possible, for two full terms. So it's almost like being a president of the continent. He will be able to interact with all the heads of state across the African
And the
continent.
medical insurance also that comes
Yes.
with
So
it.
at
Yeah.
almost any time he wants, with a dollar account. So you can see that I think President Obasanjo wanted this to be for him, for Odinga, some sort of like a reward, for his, failure, for missing out on the presidency in Kenya.
What are the things we should be looking at? I mean, anyway, citizens like me, like you, do not participate in this vote, okay, or in this election. But what
It's the
should
heads of
be,
state.
yeah, what should be the qualification? Does it even matter who is there? Um, for me, if you ask me, in terms of age, I think better to have those who have experience. That's why mostly you see the African Union Commission chairperson comes from, uh, most of them, they have in their background either they have been a foreign minister or prime minister or something under their government at some point of their life. So that helps a lot because you are working with the heads of states who have power above you, and to lobby things and to convince, it's better and seems practical to have a person who comes from that background, unless the person is or was young when he serves the country or she serves the country as a young person. But also, on the other hand, I'm just reflecting, okay, in terms of age or in terms of, Raila Odinga, and what do I think? Uh, On the other hand, we have seen Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. I think the Mali and Burkina Faso are just under 40. One is 40 maybe, and the other one is 36 or 37. And who am I to say, young people cannot lead? Uh, so I don't know, but although I would say, although I say experience matters and better people from that position who have served as foreign minister or prime minister in their country, but the choice I have, or in my mind, Raila Odinga will not be one of them. Uh, yeah, that's that's
Yeah, yeah. So it's a good question you asked. Um, but of course, age is not really a guarantee that he is that you're gonna perform because you have
yeah,
experience.
you
But
are
of
right.
course, experience is necessary, and experience is one of the requirements. All right, they put a lot of they put a list of experience requirements for you to have before you can contest for the African Union. Of course, that includes diplomacy, that you should have held some reasonable positions. And of course some of the things, even them, they don't fulfill them, which is okay, that in itself is okay. But it is not a guarantee that because the person is old, is going to perform, that, is going to do the right thing. But it's good. But everything, the performance has to do with the performance. I think that it has to do with the system itself. So the system which is there, uh, the African heads of state, the heads of state at the African Union, like I said, they are the ones who lead the continent, all right? And they lead the African Union itself as you are seeing it. So if you see any African head of state, any of the African head of state complaining about the African Union, just know that that man is a hypocrite, or a woman is a complete hypocrite, because he knows, or they know, or maybe he's a hypocrite or doesn't know how the African Union works. And of course, including Museveni is in that group, because I've heard him, complaining about the African Union. The African Union, and Museveni has been around for a long time, so he must know how the African Union works. Now, they are at the top of the chain of decision making at the African Union, all right? Nothing goes through in the African Union if the heads of state do not agree with it. They don't see any sense in it. They have to agree before anything can go through, all right? So the African Union chairperson, African Union Commission chairperson, the position which Odinga is contesting for, his work is just to implement the decisions of the heads of state, what they have agreed on. All right, those are the layers that we have. So once a decision has been agreed on and has been taken, so they can make decisions. I mean, they can make suggestions. All right, because you have a permanent representatives at the African Union Commission for each of the African countries. All right, and then you have the ministers, representatives who are ministers. Those ones, they don't sit at the African Union, but that's the Council of Ministers. So you have heads of state at the top.
Mhm.
Then you have the Council of Ministers, all right? That's the second layer. And then the lower layer is the permanent representatives of each of the African countries,
Which
all
are
right? So
basically
now
the
these,
ambassadors.
yes, they are like
Mm.
ambassadors at the African Union. They are, all countries in Africa have these ambassadors at the African Union permanently. They are over there,
Yeah,
monitoring
those
what is
who
happening.
are ambassadors to Ethiopia are automatically ambassador, also permanent
Yes,
representatives.
yes, yes. So they always send back the information to their council of ministers, and these council of ministers, they send the information to the heads of state about what is happening, with the African Union. Now, what they said is that these people can make suggestions to the African heads of state, or at the lower level. Okay. So now all these three layers, when they filter whatever, they come up with suggestions, and then the heads of state have to agree to these suggestions. And then if they agree, for example, at the heads of state summit, these annual summits which happen, in February, every February in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, the African Union headquarters, when they agree, then that decision goes to the commission, who is, Odinga, who's going to implement. So everything has to do with, of course, everything has to do with the system, that they have a system. So if you have a bad system, whereby you people don't want to make decisions, or you fear making decisions, or they are intimidating you, from making decisions, then of course, regardless of whether the person is old or young, it's not gonna make any difference for the African continent. So it is necessary uh, you know, uh, it is necessary to, I think, that to reform the institution. And of course, this work had been given to President Kagame to do the reforming of the institution. They are all the African Union, so that it can function. But of course, some of the heads of state, they don't respect, these reforms. They don't respect even the decisions sometimes which are taken, even some of the decisions themselves, which they have signed on to. And I'll give you one of the decisions is that it was decided that a Pan-African passport should be distributed. An African Union passport should be distributed to all African citizens. In 2018, in Rwanda, those passports have never been given out to the African citizens. The countries, each heads of state, they went back and they continue to give out national passports. Some of them are giving out regional passports, like, for example, the East African Community, ECOWAS, and all these. Instead of, respecting what they agreed on, they signed it on, and they launched the passport, in Kigali. But so they don't respect their own thing. So if anything, is the heads of state who have, an issue. But anyway, it could work. So it depends also on the personality. I think it will depend on the personality, whether the elected, chairperson of the African Union Commission is aggressive enough. How passionate is the person enough about the affairs of the continent? Like, for example, we have seen that Ukraine came out, in broad daylight, that it is supporting the rebels who are destabilizing the African continent, and we have not heard anything from the African Union. Even summoning, they should summon the ambassadors of the Africa, of Ukraine to come and answer to these kind of things, because Ukraine came out in broad daylight and said it supported. So these ambassadors, even the heads of state themselves, they should summon. They should be summoning, even in ECOWAS itself. ECOWAS should summon the ambassadors of Ukraine into ECOWAS at the commission. The African Union should do the same, all right, so that they can come and answer. But the heads of state are not doing it, and then ECOWAS is not doing it, and then the African Union is not doing it. So this becomes problematic, that everyone is loose, and they don't want to make decisions for some reason, which of course we don't understand, whether they are being intimidated by the West, whether they are just don't, whether they don't have these suggestions, they don't have decisions to make. So I think that is something which we are still investigating. So it will take a lot of willpower for Odinga himself even to make a difference. So if he is lacking in that willpower, then of course a younger person who has a lot of willpower, could be even better than him. But we wait to see.
Yeah, indeed, it's a matter of wait and see. War time will tell. But yeah, I mean, I'm a bit, what do you say, pessimist. Unless a reform happens within that organization, nothing can change. But let me take, because this is still as an early stage and things will develop, and we will update you accordingly. Please put it in the chat section if you have any questions that we would like to you would like us to address or to comment on this topic. I think most of the audiences here are pessimists, like me, unfortunately.
So the organization
Okay,
itself
ask
has,
me something. People are saying it's impossible for 32 nations or to agree on anything. Then how can the 54 African nation ever agree on anything? That's a bit general. Yeah, so
no,
that's
I think he's talking about 1963. So in
mm,
1963, there were 32 independent states. They failed to form a union government. They failed to agree. So I think that is what it means, that if 32 countries could not agree to form a union government, how are we going to have all these 55 or 54 countries agree on like a single decision? Everyone is going in different directions, like you mentioned, in your presentation on Ukraine, that Malawi and all these countries, they are supporting Ukraine, and that is why even the Ukrainian Minister of Foreign Affairs is visiting these countries, Zambia, Malawi, because he sees these as puppets to the West. All right, so there's this division within the African Union itself. I
but
think that is the question.
Sanders has a good point. He says OAU and OAU had a better chance of success and survival vis-a-vis AU. You agree? Do you agree?
Yeah, so the OAU, they said that it achieved its objectives, which was the decolonization of the continent, to help in the decolonization. That's why they say that they should reform the organization and transform it. Actually, it was a transformation. It was not even a reform. It was a transformation from one step to another, and that was the African Union. So the African Union, and it was led by President Muammar Gaddafi, is the one who who led this struggle. The African Union was supposed to pursue a union government in earnest, quickly and rapidly. So I think that CNS would have a point in there. He would have a point, or she would have a point. When she says that, of course, the OAU had a better chance of success than the AU. Uh, and it's disappointing, of course, but that disappointment, I think it should not go to the AU itself. Like I said, repeatedly, the disappointment should be pushed to the African heads of state, because the African heads of state, to my understanding, they are the African Union. If they don't make a decision, the African Union is just a body, it's just like an NGO, you a non-government organization. That is what it is, or a
Or
non-profit
even
organization.
just a building. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a building, right? It's just a building. So the power is within the heads of state. So if we want it to work, we have to push the African heads of state. We have to demonstrate against them. We have to strategize to see how we can take power from them and give that power to the African Union. And of course, that means the formation of a union government, so that we can have only one person leading the continent, instead of different people who are going in different directions and not really making any decision or any constructive decision. And of course, that is going to be a huge struggle. It's a huge struggle. But of course, this needs discussion and, and deliberation on how it should be done. That power should be taken from them, so that the organization itself can function. So it's going to be a hard one.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for now, unless we want to add something. Uh, yeah, this is as far as what we can say. Do you have the background or the names? I know you said Mauritius and Madagascar, who have now who have new
There was
candidates.
Seychelles. Seychelles also had put up a candidate.
No, Seychelles
Uh,
pulled out. No.
yes, he pulled out. Seychelles pulled out.
So the new ones are Madagascar and Mauritius.
Yeah, so those ones I had not seen them yet
No?
from the new
Okay.
information.
I think those are the new ones.
Okay, so Madagascar, yeah, Madagascar and Mauritius are the ones who have submitted their candidates.
But, I was reading the comments here. I don't know who wrote it, but regarding Hungary, the fate now, Hungary versus the European Union, the fact that Hungary wanted to sign or signed already with Russia a peace deal, and that will allow for Russia to step in there, and the whole EU is now against Hungary, sanctioning this and that. And I was thinking, oh my God, can we blame it now? Why, uh, being in one union, yeah, the fact that now Hungary cannot do anything by itself. So at some point, unity uh, could work against our own interests?
No, so it depends. So the unity that was envisioned by Africa's forefathers and foremothers, who really wanted it. They did not want the unity in the form of the European Union. Okay, they that kind of unity is a loose unity, that there's no decision making. Okay, so our unity was supposed to abolish all these, you know, uh, differences,
Mhm.
the huge differences that are in here that we have. We are supposed to have a single president who makes a decision. The European Union doesn't have that, all right? Even though it has a parliament, we also have a parliament. We have the Pan African Parliament, which is in I think in Santon, in South Africa, all right?
Mhm.
But ours as a union was supposed to be with a single president. single foreign minister. All right, we are supposed to have like a cabinet with a president in it. So that's the difference. The nature of the union which our forefathers envisioned. So such differences were not going to be there, that you have different ministers. So all authority was going to be all the authority we wanted to preside in one government, as our forefathers said. And this would aid actually the rapid building of the continent. Now, in Europe, you have Viktor Orban, who is the president of Hungary, is a president over there. You have leaders and in other countries, or France and Germany and all these, whatever it is, whatever they call them, as chancellors or prime ministers, they're over there, right? These are leaders of their country, like real leaders with sovereignty, with full sovereignty. All right. It's not that the European Union has taken away that power. So this is the nature of actually the organization of which Nkrumah was discouraging, that we should not form that kind of organization on the African continent. We should not have that kind of thing. It's very dangerous. And of course, that is what we formed. And we even gave it power with the Cairo Declaration, which is the 1964 Cairo Declaration, which is the non-inviolability of borders. So they reinforced the fact that the borders should continue to be there on the African continent. All right, in 1964 in Cairo, and they published a document. So this actually created even much more problems. It just created, indecision. It just reinforced indecision, and of course mediocrity. All these created a mediocrity, and lack of solid decision making, and it is still affecting us up to today. So I really don't think that if we unified, we are going to face these problems that Europe is facing in the real sense of unity, as our forefathers wanted us to. And of course our forefathers and our foremothers.
Yeah, I'm just reading here the chat. No, thank you very much, Kwame. Thank you everyone for being here. Yeah, for tuning in. Let us know in the comment section, what do you think, further, because this is just the start of it. We have 5 months ahead for the election to happen. So more things will happen, will develop. We don't know, maybe Raila Odinga will pull out.
Ah,
So,
I don't think he will pull out. He wants this so bad. He really
yeah,
wants this very bad. He cannot pull out.
my
He
goodness,
really wants this very bad.
just a disaster, really. I mean, yeah, and in the absence of a better candidate, what can you do? He will get it. Nobody expected from Faki Muhammad to take second term or to win second term, but it happened. It should be based on merit, and but they don't give power the heads of states, even if they're the ones who have power. Still, they will not give it to the person, or will not elect a person who will be more challenging. It's just embarrassing. An organization that cannot even pay its own salary. Well, yeah. Thank you, Kwame. Thank you, everyone. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Give it a like, share the video with others, and support our channel through PayPal, our PayPal account. You can find it in the description section. I have to say thank you. In the beginning, somebody supported us with some donation, right? Or not?
Yes, he's called the Afri. He's called the
I
Afri.
Afri, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, thank you. But also, it's a question.
Yeah, there was
There's
also
a
the question which he
question.
raised. I think we
Yeah,
need
maybe
to
we should
answer.
address that one before we
Yes,
go.
yes. I think he's asking. Have you guys read the book? He's asking, hey guys, I love your channel. He has a question. Have you read the book White Malice by Susan Williams? It is about the CIA and its actions in Africa. How do we know this guy isn't a CIA agent? So it's very possible. So I've read that book personally, and in the book, Susan Williams, of course, is addressing the fact that uh, the CIA was operating in Africa, even and organizing even Pan African events actually, and even sponsoring African writers. Yes, so it was to that extent that it was operating in the African continent. So for now, like we need to really do deep digging for us to understand, the motivations behind, what, he's bringing him. But the fact that we have seen Ruto support him, and of course, Ruto, we know that he's already a sellout who's working for the Western, world and its interests. We've seen the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund riding him, or him riding them. So it's possible. This question, we cannot make a conclusion on it, but it is possible. It is very possible.
Okay, thank you, Kwame, for addressing that. So we will see you on the next one. It's a bye bye from us. Have a good evening. Have a good, yeah, ciao, ciao.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.